Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Midtown Scholar Bookstore's virtual event series. My name is Alex Brubaker. I'm the manager here at the Scholar, and as always, I am live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania at the bookstore. Whether you're joining us on Crowdcast or Facebook Live or even YouTube Live, thanks so much for tuning in. Welcome to our live stream series where we host authors and speakers, and we keep the conversation going about books we love. Tonight, our featured book is The Beauty in Breaking by Michele Harper. If you haven't yet purchased Michele's book, I'd like to encourage you to do so. Purchasing her book through us helps support the author, this event series, and the future of the Midtown Scholar Bookstore. These copies are all first editions if you're into collecting, so click the green button below on Crowdcast to make your purchase. It's right below the screen here, right below my face. If you're on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, simply head to our website at midtownscholar.com to grab your copy. A quick plug for us, we're hosting Colson Whitehead tomorrow via live stream. If you haven't yet purchased your book and ticket, visit our website to do so. It's super easy. You buy the book and we email you instructions and a password to log in to the event. But now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers for this evening's program. Our interviewer is Yaasmeen Piper. She is a community engagement fellow for Spotlight PA and a freelance writer for The Berg, among other places. And a big thank you to Yaasmeen for taking the time out of her schedule to do this for us. Our featured author this evening is, of course, Michele Harper. She has worked as an emergency room physician for more than a decade at various institutions, including as chief resident at Lincoln Hospital in the South Bronx and in the emergency department at the Veteran Affairs Medical Center in Philadelphia. She is a graduate of Harvard University and the Renaissance School of Medicine at Stony Brook University. Of course, the book we are here for, again, is The Beauty in Breaking. Here it is once more. It has been featured in NPR, New York Times, People Magazine, Time, Bustle, and many other media outlets. I'll read just one blurb from New York Times Book Review, who called the memoir riveting, heartbreaking, and always inspiring. Now, before I hand it off to Michele and Yaasmeen, please click the Ask a Question button below if you have a question for Michele. I can't promise we'll get to all of them, but we'll save some time after the conversation to go over your questions. But now, at this time, please join me in welcoming onto the screen Michele and Yaasmeen.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Hi. Thank you again for coming and doing this book talk with Midtown Scholar. I hope once the world opens up again that you can visit. But yeah, so let's start with your title, The Beauty in Breaking. What does that mean to you, and how does it relate to some of the themes that are in your book?
So The Beauty in Breaking, I came up with the title literal clinical. I wanted to.
Could you repeat that? Your audio is cutting out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was weird.
Okay. I wanted to resonate with the energy of the book, and Beauty in Breaking. I think about, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, but the Japanese art of kintsukuroi, broken, then repaired with an amalgam of precious metals. The theory is that we want to highlight those breaks and make it part of the reconstruction so that it's even more beautiful for the mending. And I feel about life. Part of the deal in life is that there will be challenges, there will be painful moments. There, in those times, I always say I don't romanticize trauma, but in is the opportunity to grow and to become more resilient, to heal better, to heal stronger. So that's the meaning of the title.
Yeah, and I see a lot of those themes in your book too. So in the beginning of the book, you tell a story about a trip to the ER with your brother that had a really big impact on you. Can you tell us that story and how it led you towards the path of medicine?
So I was, and that the start of the book, I talk about.
I'm sorry, your audio cut out again.
I grew. I can hear. Can you?
It goes in and out, but.
Do you want me to?
Sorry, just follow me. Yeah, if you want to switch your laptop, or is the browser still open on your laptop? Do you know? That might be an issue as well.
Yeah, let me.
If you close that out.
I'll close my laptop.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, we hear you now.
I
Okay.
think so.
I was talking about, yes. So growing up in a traumatic household with a battered father, rated by abuse. So I share a story, which almost could have been any day, but one that's particularly memorable was my brother was trying to protect my mother. I was young. My brother was just learning to drive. My brother is 5 years older than me. So whenever he could, he would try and intervene to protect my mother or us. And he had my father restrained. And my father bit his finger and hard and caused a lot of damage. And it stuck with me because I thought, if he's capable of that, if a family member is capable of such an act of brutality where they could harm someone, where they could maim them, then what does that say for what life is here in this house?
Mm-hmm.
And what could happen to any of us at any time? And so the different parts of life that converge there. Young people brought in by their parents, older people, older woman who might be brought in coding, in cardiac arrest, homeless person just looking for a moment of refuge from the elements. That I was in this place where all manner of life, all with the same goal of finding some kind of healing, some better than how they came. For me, it was hopeful because it was a glimpse of the possibility that it's not always going to be like this in this house, that one day, hopefully, I would survive it. We would all survive. And I could go on to help people who might find themselves in similar situations.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like from your book that you have helped a lot of people. It's amazing. So in the emergency room, you kind of have to learn things quickly, of course. Aside from healthcare things, though, what are some of the things that you learned from your colleagues your first few years as a physician?
My colleagues. I mean, we're all in similar situations. There to help people who come in times of crisis. I mean, there's patience. I don't know exactly where to go with this, but
Mm-hmm. Could you repeat that?
oh, it's out again.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm crap.
Do we want to go back to the laptop? The audio seems to be cutting out. Sorry about this.
I can go to my laptop.
Yeah, do you want to just go to and let's just go on Safari and just see what happens?
Okay.
At least the audio sounds better on the laptop.
Okay, let me get out of. I'm gonna get out of this, right?
Yeah, me and Yaasmeen, we can just talk about whatever. What? Okay. Okay, so as we get Michele back on the screen here. Oh,
I'm trying to get out of.
Here, I'll just.
Okay, there she goes.
It's always an adventure with live streams. So sorry to our viewers out there. We will get Michele back on the screen here. The quality of feed won't be as good, but I believe we'll be able to hear her much clearer. So we'll go from there. Let me see here. Trying to find her on the screen. Yaasmeen, why don't you tell us what are you reading outside of the Beauty and Breaking?
I was about to say I'm just reading this right now. Let's see. What did I start? Oh, I finally found No Ashes in the Fire.
Darnell Moore.
Yeah, so I'm excited to start that. I actually found it at a yard sale.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in Midtown. Yeah, only $5. Great deal.
My goodness, what a deal! What a deal at Midtown. Yeah, a plug for the store while we're here is we're opening on Friday, so everyone can come out. Hey Michele, how's it going? Is this better?
Hopefully, let's see. I can see and hear you all. So
okay, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, nice. So you were telling us the story about the ER and your brother. Oh no, we were talking about.
No, we went and we said we all collaborate. We work as a team, and
yeah. So how do you balance your personal issues plus seeing, physical and emotional violence kind of every single day without becoming numb to it?
How do I? No, what? No, do you mean how do I not get too personally involved in the cases? Is that, am I
Yeah.
understanding? Um, I honestly, I think that comes with years of practice
Mm-hmm.
and self-healing. I mean, there are many cases that do stay with you, and that's one of the things that I talk about, especially in the beginning of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that at a certain point in our own journeys, if we address our own, and it's all different. If we address points that need to be healed, then it's easier to not only be present for people,
Mm-hmm.
but to maintain a safe and peaceful distance from it as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
important because if we're going to be present for people, we can't be bringing all our stuff in the room. It's
Yeah.
it's better and it's healthier and it's more therapeutic to deal with it later. I mean, a difficult example is, for example, if a patient who is very hard to treat. He came in with an infection to his leg. He was with his brother, who was also really insulting and demeaning and saying maybe we should go somewhere else, like a better hospital with better doctors. But he was really ill and he could have died from this infection. He started throwing bloody gauze to the ground. Well, we did everything we could for him, of course, intravenous antibiotics, fluids. I consulted the surgeon who did a bedside procedure, and he was feeling better. And then he said he just had to leave. He was initially begging for us to save his life, but then said, I just have to go. Um, and in that case, and in the process of him leaving, he was also very insulting to myself and the nurse. And it was frustrating, but that's an example of a case where none of this is personal. We do
Mm-hmm.
the best we can for people. And then people are allowed to make their own decisions. And if we make it personal, that interferes with the therapeutic relationship. So that's
Mm-hmm.
an example. So it's respecting a person's autonomy, doing the best we can, and then moving on to the next person.
Mm-hmm. So, structural racism appears in the medical system in both patients and staff. In one chapter, you tell a story about a patient who was brought in by the police. Can you tell us that story and how it impacted you?
Yeah, this one comes up a lot. A patient in the book, Dominique, a youngish Black man brought in police custody, chained, shackled, hands and legs as well, brought in by 4 officers, all white. And I hear a commotion at triage when he comes in. They're saying their allegation is he swallowed bags of drugs. Um, so we brought him here to have them removed as part of our investigation, as part of the evidence. That's what needs to happen. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be evaluated. He doesn't want any of this to happen. I hear the commotion. I'm hoping that somehow it'll be resolved. I'm with a resident so technically I'm supervisor. I'm the doctor in charge in the department.
Mm-hmm.
So she's my trainee. So I'm giving her a chance to try and address it. This is not going well at all. I get up. She's telling him that he's just going to have to let this happen. So I get up, and now it's the patient, a Black man, and myself, the doctor in charge, and I'm the only Black healthcare provider involved in this case, and I'm the only Black doctor in this section of the ER who's in charge as well.
Mm-hmm.
The patient is clinically fine. He's not intoxicated. He's not altered. So I speak to him. He doesn't want to be assessed. So that's his right. That is his right as a patient in this country. I explain that to the police who don't understand why I'm doing this. The rest of the staff doesn't either. And they proceed to tell me that this happens all the time. And when it does, they do what the police says, and it doesn't matter what the patient wants, what the prisoner wants.
Mm-hmm.
So that was even more horrifying to me, actually, than what the police were trying to get me to do. I didn't do that, because not only is that immoral, unprofessional, unethical, it's also illegal, and it brings up the issues of who has bodily integrity in this country, who is considered to have
Mm-hmm.
sovereignty in this country, whose rights are to be respected, and the fact that we have people come in the ER all the time who may refuse treatment. And when we have objective evidence that there's a life threat, there wasn't even objective evidence here. So his rights weren't going to be respected. And my resident, who ended up calling the hospital administration because she didn't feel that I should be able to make this call. But then the administration said, no, actually, I'm right and it's illegal. So I discharged him from the hospital. And it brings up all of those issues. And also, especially with the discussions going on now about police reform, yes, there are issues in policing. That's definitely true that need to be addressed. And there are issues in other industries, such as the medical establishment, who is often complicit.
So, in that same chapter, you tell us about a promotion that you were going for. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, and this is the same. This gets back to structural racism. I was going, and this was early after graduation from residency, and I was an attending hospital, an attending physician in a hospital here in Philadelphia. And so ER doctors, this is just some background for people. ER doctors, we work clinically, but then we may also have administrative roles in the hospital. That's not uncommon, and we'll just do both. And so I was going for a position in the hospital and waiting to hear the response. And my director called me into his office. He wanted to talk because he got what the response was. And he said, I'm really sorry, even though you were super qualified and the only applicant, the hospital decided to leave the position open. And then he went on to apologize and said that it's really unfortunate. He always wants to be able to promote women and people of color here, but that this hospital won't do that. They won't promote women. They won't promote people of color. And so they always leave. So he's hoping that I'll just stay on with him and see how it goes. And that's it. That was the discussion. That was the result. There was no further action taken. I mean, he didn't try any other measures or directly confront the institution. I did end up leaving. And I heard that shortly after, they did put a white male nurse into the position.
Interesting. So how did
So yeah,
that?
so these are some problems. I mean, you know, I bring up these stories because I don't want to depress people. I bring up these stories. It's important to have these conversations. It's also important to talk about what's happening, because often a tool, whether it's of violence in the home or structural racism, the reason these can exist, the reason any type of horror can exist, is through the silencing and the normalization that happens with silencing. So yes, we need to talk about it. That's why people are taking the streets. That's why people are posting videos. We need to talk about it, and then we of course have to take action, because none of it matters unless we're taking action.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I'm glad that you're here talking about it with us. So, of course, we kind of have to address the elephant in the room, which is the virus, which is impacting impacting like every corner of life, but especially healthcare. So, what is your life like right now, and how are you
Okay.
coping with it?
So now I would say, to put it in context, this is a New York City bookstore. So I live in Philadelphia. I practice in New Jersey. So like New York City, our rates have, well, our rates have decreased. The reason I stopped myself is we really don't know exactly what's going on, because everything people are saying is it's true. We don't have enough testing, so we don't exactly know how many people have what. But it looks like there are fewer people presenting with that concern to the ER. People aren't as sick with coronavirus in my region. So those are positive things. It's also true that everything that people are saying in terms of not having enough testing, not having tracing, not having enough PPE, these are all still problems. We're all bracing still for what will happen next because we see what's happening in the South. We also see that when I see people posting pictures in my neighborhood in New Jersey of hanging out with friends on the beach and having barbecues and restaurants where all the, yes, it's outside dining, but all the tables are crammed up together and they invite all their friends and they're standing around having essentially a block party. So we're bracing because we don't know if it's soon going to be like the South. And we always figured it probably would be worse in the fall anyway. So there's a lot of uncertainty and we're just kind of watchfully waiting.
Yeah, but it's at least better now than it was, like, say, April, even May, right?
Yeah. And in terms of the severity of disease and the effects of disease right now, yes.
Okay.
In this moment.
Last question before we turn over to audience questions. Your book outlines various patients that had an impact on your life. Do you have a lesson, message, or story that you want to share with us from a patient?
Which other one? Oh, okay. This one is kind of a quieter story, less dramatic. But an older man, Joshua, who comes in and is just has this nagging in his stomach, and the doctor before me, he was signed out to me. The doctor before me said, "Okay, he's got cancer. I'm going to admit him for pain control." So we were understaffed in the ER. It was busy. I was just waiting for a call so I could admit him to the hospital, taking care of other patients. And a couple hours went by, and one of the nurses says, "Oh, he's kind of wondering what's happening. Can you talk to him? He might have some pain, but I think mainly he wants an update." So I went to the room, I spoke to him, and he said, he did have some pain, but he looked really comfortable. He was elegant. He was this tall, well-dressed man, waist-long dreadlocks, and was so nice. I addressed him by his last name, and he was like, no, please call me Joshua. And I did, and I gave him pain medicine. And I said to him, did the doctor tell you it was cancer? And he said, well, she kind of danced around it, but I know. I've been through this before. I was treated before. And given what she was saying, I figured it came back. But then he was honest. He said, I know she said I was supposed to stay, but I don't want to stay. Like, I'm vegetarian. I can't eat this hospital food. Like, there's fluorescent lights. I want to be with my family. I want to enjoy my life. And I don't even know that it would make sense because I don't want radiation. I don't want surgery. I don't want those treatments. That's not in accordance with my lifestyle. And I have to say that, I don't, and I discussed this, I'm not here to evaluate whether or not his decisions were correct. That's between him and his specialists. But what I learned in that moment and observed and found really magical was just his equanimity. The fact that he was so peaceful, the fact that he told me that he enjoyed his life and he appreciated his life and he was comfortable with how he was living and the decisions he would make moving forward, so that he just wanted to go home. And his family came, and I did release him to home. And I just remembered, if he could feel that in the face of this new diagnosis of metastatic cancer in the ER, surely I could be grounded in my life now when I'm not facing anything near that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's tragic, but beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're going to switch it over to audience questions. Let's see what we have here. So Kelly James asks, who inspired you to tell this story?
It was me. I'm going to tell you. It was me. There was no one who said you should write this. I mean, had I spoken when I was in residency, and having these different experiences that would stay with me. Oh my God, I could go on and on, but having these experiences that would stay with me, you know, like a woman, I want to say this really quickly though. A woman who was brought in and she had stab wounds all over her body. She was alive. There were small stab wounds all over her body. And I thought, the horror of having to be there somehow restrained while
Mm-hmm.
someone stabs her repeatedly. And who is that person who clearly wanted to cause her that much pain and suffering? And what in her life brought her there? And how was she going to heal from those like literal, like physical and emotional and psychological scars? I mean, there were stories like that would happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk about them because in many ways for me it is amplifying the voices of people who are traditionally silenced or ignored. And then my intention is to engage in a public discussion um, about solutions. And it's also hopefully an opportunity for people to see that we're connected and we all go through crap. And there is an opportunity, again, Kinsakori, to heal better. So that's why I did it. And it came from me.
I like that. We need more solutions, not problems right
Yeah.
now. So this is another one from Kelly James. What practices do you recommend towards self-healing?
And I think that really is, I feel like that's so personal. I think it depends on what resonates with the individual. So whatever is on path, whatever is in integrity and alignment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for for me the physical practice of yoga works. For other
Mm-hmm.
people it's running. For me, like museums of contemporary art are my temple. For other people it's listening to a certain kind of music. So I think it depends. I don't think there's one way that's better than another as long as it's not toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that answers that. But in
Um,
general, I will say it's always helpful to have some kind of physical activity so that we're physically fit and to be well hydrated and to eat healthy food and think positive in general.
yeah. I also second the yoga thing if possible.
Yeah.
So
And
this one,
also
oh, go ahead.
healthy relationships, like having healthy boundaries with people. That's huge. It's amazing how if you want to be healthy, you want to have a positive life, but then you have people in your life that are toxic and like energetic and spiritual vampires, it doesn't work.
Hmm. So this one is from Andrea. What did you learn most about yourself in the process of writing this story?
And I didn't, it's a cliche. People say that the act of writing is cathartic. And that's true. I didn't set out to write this book to heal myself, but it happens because in exploring the stories, even if it's stories from my past, I monitored, I could feel when I felt triggered by them. And that was a
Mhm.
nice cue that, oh, you thought you had fully worked through that relationship. There's this other corner you should look at. So I would
Mhm.
take time. And so as I was writing, I don't know, part about my ex-husband, for example, I mean, I'm fine with that now, but when I was the book takes a long time to write, years. So when I
Yeah.
was writing part of that story, I might get sad and start to cry. And I did play that Whitney Houston song I refer to. So I stopped writing and I just let myself cry. Let me let me tell you. And then when I was done with the edit, I was fine. It was all gone. And I believe I started wandering with that question. So I hope I answered it.
Yeah. No, definitely did. Um, so Sarah says, "Thank you for this combo," and that she looks forward to reading the book. She
Thank
said, "Can
you.
you tell us about the process of getting a book deal? Not
Oh,
many doctors are also authors. It is a fascinating perspective."
oh my goodness. Whew. So so it's interesting. The way from what I've been told, it's a little bit like the odds of getting struck by lightning. So I did not have a plan. At first, when I started writing, I thought, I want to do this. It's important. It's part of my mission to help people. So I just started writing. And then at the end, I thought, well, I should try and do something like it should be a book. Let me see if I can get it published. Well, I had no idea that there were different paths. I knew people self-published. That's easy. So, you know, if you want to self-publish, you just put it out there. But to get a book deal with a traditional publisher, I found out that if you're not famous, because if you're famous, you can do whatever you want. But if you're not famous, then you need an agent. So I ended up going to a literary consultant to help me navigate this because I know nothing. And she's my literary consultant, friend, literary whisperer, and Debussy. And so she helped me come up with a strategy and who to apply to write letters, query letters to agents. It took me over a year, maybe it was a year and a half, to get an agent. It was rejection after rejection, or silence, which I guess is a kind rejection. And then finally I got an agent. And by the way, that year or year and a half to get an agent, I've told, is good, because most times you just don't, and that's how it goes. And then once I got an agent, it was sold at auction like in less than a month. And then I had the book deal. Then I edited with them for over a year, and now the book came out. So hopefully that answered your question. But honestly, I really think if you're not in this field, like you said, like some random doctor writing a book, I think it's part tenacity, part talent, part destiny. Seriously.
Okay. Yeah. This one is from Judith. Do you have any favorite books that are served as inspiration in writing, in the writing style and structure of your memoir?
I will say that honestly, when I was writing, I specifically stopped reading everything because I didn't want to be influenced at all. So that was my intention. That's the answer. But I can tell you some of my favorite authors in general. What resonates with me is nonfiction. I have so much respect for people who write fiction. I wish I could write fiction. I just don't. So I love James Baldwin, Audre Lorde, Roxane Gay, who can write anything and everything, Rebecca Solnit, Harriet Washington. I'm just finishing this book. I'm only lifting my laptop because, you know, when you're at home, you have to prop things up. Okay, so the book that I'm reading, A Terrible Thing to Waste by Harriet Washington. So those are some people that I love. But in terms of my book, I specifically tried not to be influenced by anyone. Of course, there's, you know, people who like each other or have similar, I guess, mentality. There'll be echoes of styles, but.
So I'm guessing you were a reader before you started writing the book, right?
I did. I mean, I tried to read. I like to read. I like to be informed. I like the arts. So, but you know, there's only so much reading I could do between shifts. So I don't read as much as people in the field, or as much as I want to.
I get that same way. So Sylvia asks, do you have any reading recommendations? Kind of already answered this a little bit, but
I think it's the same, but also I think it depends what people's goals are and what they're interested in. I think it's the same for the question where if I had recommendations on, I don't know, physical practice or spiritual practice, I feel it's whatever resonates with you. I said some of my favorite writers, but then there are people who like fiction, and I can't help with those recommendations. So I say it depends what resonates.
Okay, so that was our last question. If Alex wants to come back and give final statement.
Hey everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much, Yaasmeen. Thanks for taking your time out of your busy schedules. Michelle, congratulations again on the book. We were talking earlier, what a crappy time to be releasing a book, but we're so excited for you. We're so happy you're here with us and able to chat about the book with us and our viewers. Thank you to our viewers out there, of course, for tuning in. Again, the book is The Beauty in Breaking by Michele Harper. Click the green button below. It's below all of our faces here. It says purchase The Beauty in Breaking. It's a green button. click on that. That'll take you to our website to purchase the book. If you're on YouTube Live or Facebook Live, just head to our website to get your copy. I'm going to hand it over back to you two for the final word to our audience. Yaasmeen, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I can't say it enough. This book is so good. I'm not saying this because Michelle's here right now. I promise it's a really good book, and I highly recommend it. And I recommend buying it from Midtown Scholar. Please support independent bookstores. But yeah,
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. I'm sorry about technical difficulties, but thank you very much for joining in.
It's all right.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. See you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Everyone, stay safe.